We are live. Welcome to another edition of the Win Daily Sports NBA Preview Show. I'm your host, Ghost, and of course, I am with Adam today. Adam, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. We're all excited to play Anthony Simons tonight because if you don't, you're going to be
Yeah,
different automatically.
some massive chalk on this
Yeah,
slate. Came
five
in really
gamer.
late, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We got to get different somehow, and I do have a way to do that with a lot of firepower. That's for sure. Depending on what rostership is looking like. So while I ramble on for a little bit, if you don't mind pulling that up, because I'm probably gonna have to reference it a little bit, depending on what our strategy is going into this one. If everything holds true, then we are going to be locking in two studs today. You guys get to pick which ones, but with the amount of value that we have now compared to earlier in the day, which was slim to none, if I could be nice by saying that,
There was
now
zero.
now it's absolutely loaded. So beginning with the first game, the Battle of New York between the Knicks and the Nets. Anyone in particular stand out in this one to you? I know that RJ Barrett popped up questionable. Derrick Rose is possibly coming back tonight. We don't have confirmation on that or not, but the good thing is that it is the first game on the slate, so we will have it before lock. And we do know that Kemba Walker has not only lost the starting point guard job for the Knicks, but that he's also not in the rotation anymore as they try to explore a trade for him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of chalk coming in one of the later games, but honestly, man, the Knicks could turn into kind of chalk fest themselves because you have Mitchell Robinson questionable, you have Derrick Rose questionable, Noel Gibson, Barrett's questionable, but Thibodeau expects him to play. But I mean, depending on how things go, the Knicks could be shorthanded already, and Tibbs just runs his guys, period. But they could really be down to like bare bones 7, 8 guys at this point if some of these guys end up getting ruled out. So, as far as the Knicks go, I mean, a guy like Alec Burks stands out because I don't think he's priced accurately yet if he's going to be the starting point guard. Like 5,600 is not crazy expensive. It's not super cheap either. And I kind of wonder if he might kind of get left in the dust a little bit, given some of the news that we've gotten today. He's coming in about like maybe 6th to 7th for rostership, but I wonder how that actually shakes out once people start filling out some of these lineups.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm curious now with Gary Trent Jr. now being ruled out. A lot of people were playing him tonight. I wonder if people change their lineups altogether or do they just make that one-for-one swap? They were both eligible for the exact same positions, both shooting guard and small forward. They're both guard and forward eligible, of course, having said that. So I wonder if it's going to be a quick pivot from Gary Trent Jr. to Burks. But regardless, Burks is a guy that I absolutely love tonight. I did write him up. The assist rate didn't exactly wow me. Not gonna lie, when I was trying, when I was going to research that and add it as my main piece to his write up, I was like, whoa, it's actually much lower than I had thought. But that's because he's scoring the rock a lot better this year
Right.
too. So just the versatility that he brings on offense to the Knicks right now with with Julius Randle having some up and down games, although I do really like him. I'll talk about him in a little bit here tonight. Um, Alec Burks for me is one of the guys that I refuse to take out of my lineup no matter what his rush trip ends up being at, alongside another mid-range target there. So having him in either one of your guard or forward spots is definitely a no-brainer for me tonight, especially with Gary Trent Jr. being out. He was the only guy that I would really consider, but if he was in it, Siakam's active tonight, of course. Fred VanVleet is still there. Scotty Barnes is playing. Even though Kem Birch is out, Precious Achiuwa is guaranteed for a couple touches in the paint there too. So I was going to roll Burks regardless. Just a little more people are going to play him now that Gary Trent is out, I would assume. But I absolutely love Alec Burks tonight. And on the flip side of things, Kevin Durant for me is going to be a focal point of my lineups. So playing 37 minutes or more in 4 straight for KD. He is the entire Nets offense right now. Granted, James Harden has been, close to, if not triple doubling nearly every single night for them. And he's playing some massive minutes also. But with no Joe Harris for them, and now Blake Griffin is out of the rotation, a very similar situation actually to what Kemba Walker is going through right now for the Knicks. The Nets have taken Blake Griffin out of their rotation altogether. So is he going to get 4 to 5 minutes tonight? Possibly. But Steve Nash made it crystal clear that Blake Griffin is no longer starting, nor is he going to be really a part of the rotation? So that leaves them extremely bare. I mean, you're looking at guys like DeAndre Bembry and Patty Mills playing 34 to 36 minutes a night now. I don't know if that's sustainable for them long term, but for at least for the
No.
time being, that's exactly what they plan on rolling out. So for me, rather than taking a dive onto one of the value plays on Brooklyn, which are certainly viable, especially the two guys that I mentioned, with the other values that really shot up the rankings for me tonight, at least in the model, for me, it's going to be all about Kevin Durant tonight. I don't know outside of Steph if anyone has the upside that Kevin Durant has in this matchup, and New York has absolutely nobody to guard him. I mean, I have Julius Randle guarding him right now, and good luck to
That's not
Julius
going to end
Randle,
well.
of course.
Yeah.
And then if Tibbs doesn't like that matchup, who else are you possibly throwing at him? Like RJ's Q, and he doesn't exactly have the wingspan to be able to guard KD. No one really has a wingspan to guard KD outside of Giannis, but I mean, for me to be able to, like, I can't see a path where KD doesn't just walk all over the Knicks tonight. So I do like him. And although I am playing Steph Curry tonight, if you guys play Julius Randle, I am 100% okay with that. I did write him up as well. Look, the performances have been iffy, but what has remained constant is his volume. So, 14, 15 shots plus per game. The paint touches haven't exactly been through the roof, but with how small Brooklyn plays now, especially with Aldridge at the 5, and sometimes they're running lineups with KD as their biggest guy, and he's not really he can't really play center from a positional standpoint there. So they're running a very versatile style offense where Mitchell Robinson can easily come off the court, and they're likely to throw a guy like IQ out there quickly. They might throw Derrick Rose if he's active, with a combination of guys like Evan Fournier, Burks, Barrett, and Randall, right? So for me there, that's where Randall would land at the 5, and that's where I want to see him tonight because the paint touches can lead to a ton of scoring for Julius Randall. So for your large field tournaments, I would definitely have at least one lineup of Julius Randall. If you are only making one lineup tonight, he will not make the cut for me because I did find a way that I am more than comfortable with for playing both Kevin Durant and Steph Curry.
Yeah, and I'll say before we move off that game, you brought up Patty Mills. I really like him tonight as kind of a pivot. He's under 10% projected rostership right now. With guys like Simons eating up guard spots, a lot of other people. You kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Mills is pretty much scoring dependent, but if KD's not pouring in 40 points, which is possible, don't get me wrong, like this is a guy that can put up 17, 23 points. He's shooting 50% from deep at this point of the year. Like he's not a huge volume shooter. It's like 130 attempts, but still 50%. And the Knicks are 6th worst in frequency of 3-pointers allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. So
like
for
Mills
me
can get hot in a
there,
hurry.
yeah, and he can really he can really lead the charge, like it, especially when the game first tips off, right? So that's where you'll know exactly how Patty Mills is going to do throughout the night, because if he's taking a ton of shots early on, that's where the volume's going to be there, and
Yep.
he can get real hot. So at 4,800, absolutely nobody's going to roster him tonight, right in between that Burks range and down to Anthony Simons, etc. So a couple other guards there now popped up in between 3,800 and 4,500 that I like also. So kind of in no man's land there at 4,800. I do like Patty Mills for large field tournaments tonight. Absolutely. The second game on the slate, which it also tips off at 7:30 Eastern, is the Memphis Grizzlies visiting the Toronto Raptors. And it's cold up here. So Montreal isn't too far from Toronto, and it's cold. So in the prime of winter, pretty close to it at this point. The Ja Morant-less Grizzlies are taking a trip up north of the border to Toronto. Anyone that really stands out to you at first glance in this one?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the Memphis side because it's pretty much going to be the Fighting Dylan Brooks show. This guy takes a billion shots when Ja's in. So when he's out, he's only going to take that much more. I mean, you look at this last game, and he got cut short because at one point, I think Memphis was up like 40 on the Kings.
I think they were up by. I was talking to Jay about because he was like, "Oh, why did Brooks only play 21 minutes last game with no Ja?" I was like, "I'm pretty sure they were up by 46." At one point.
It was a beatdown galore in that game.
It was bad.
So his minutes get cut short, but you look at 21 minutes, 17 field goal attempts. He only hit 1 3 out of 6, and he still scored
21 points in 21 minutes.
Right, he's gonna jack shots like nobody's business tonight. And Toronto can keep it close. They're a little, they're certainly better quality than the Kings. 7,000, and I know some in our Discord kind of looked and went, 7,000 for Brooks. Like, I kind of get there's some sticker shock because he hasn't been that price for pretty much the entire season. With no jaw, he fully deserves that price. In the next couple weeks, I bet he's over 8,500.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me in
I
the
would be
least,
surprised
especially if Ja is going to be out for, like we're hearing he doesn't have a concrete timetable to return there, but
right.
It's going to be at least 3 to 4 weeks. Like at the bare minimum, it's going to be 3 to 4 weeks for Ja Morant. So it would not surprise me to see Dillon Brooks over $8,000 within the next 10 to 14 days, easily, depending 100%. On how many times Memphis plays there. But there is not a lineup, and the reason why I moved them over to the right side of the screen there is because there's not a lineup that I'm making without Dillon Brooks tonight. Mississauga, Ontario native, just on the outskirts of Toronto. On top of that, coming home for Dillon Brooks. He's from here. He's a certified hooper. And for me, it's just, this was a guy that I wrote up, and I said this last night, and nothing has changed for me, that I will not make a lineup without Dillon Brooks tonight. Like for me, scoring a raw point per minute in that blowout game, and just the sheer volume that he had, he took essentially a shot per minute. Yeah. He was shooting every second possession that they had. And this game is going to be fast. This game's going to be fast, and it's not going to be a 46-point blowout against the Kings, right? So to be able to get Dillon Brooks exposure tonight is absolutely huge to me. And I'll continue to run on this Memphis side, man. I really do like a ton of these guys that no one's really rostering now. Right. No one's rostering them. And we'll talk about that Portland game. It's the last game on the slate, but we'll actually move to that one next because it's definitely the one with the most news out of all the 10 p.m. Eastern games there. So we'll move to that one next. But just before we get to that one, I'm just going to come out and say it. Everybody is playing Portland tonight. It's still Portland versus Detroit. Like, it is by far the worst game environment on the slate. So for me to get exposure to a much better game environment with little to no defense, Memphis is dead last in defensive rating this season. And it gets worse when Ja Morant is off the court. Like, I don't know how else to explain how much I love this game tonight. Desmond Bane is a guy that I really like at $6,000. Nobody's paying $6,000 for Desmond Bane tonight. I can guarantee that. And of course, you have the point guard duo in Tyus Jones and DeAnthony Melton. Personally, I do prefer DeAnthony Melton just because his upside when it comes to scoring is much greater than that of Tyus Jones. And again, it's green checkmark syndrome for those that play on DraftKings. Whenever anybody sees that little green checkmark and the bench player is the exact same price on top of that, or $100 less in this case, everybody who is playing one of these two guards is likely to play Tyus Jones, right? So I do like DeAnthony Melton there at 5,100. He could take a three just as good as anybody on this Memphis Grizzlies offense. He can shoot just as well as Dillon Brooks, just as well as Desmond Bane, and the volume's going to be there. He can stuff the stat sheet being active on the glass. He can get a couple assists as well. And he has really active hands in the passing lane. So considering Fred VanVleet takes good care of the ball, I don't expect the Toronto Raptors to turn it over all that much more than what they already do. But when they do turn over, it's likely because of DeAnthony Melton's on-ball defense and his off-ball defense when he gets in those passing lanes, right? So Fred VanVleet running that offense at the top of the key. They move the ball around a ton, especially when he's throwing it out to the wings, to the left, Pascal Siakam, to the right, you got Scotty Barnes. There's a lot of ball movement in this Toronto Raptors offense, and that is huge for DeAnthony Melton. A ton of buckets in transition for this Grizzlies offense. This game's going to be fast with little to no defense. I definitely want exposure to it. I know some guys were talking about Brandon Clark in Discord as well, and I guess I'll mention Kyle Anderson in the same sentence here. To me, it's just they're not as big of impact players right now, right? So considering the fact that Steven Adams is still likely to be out there for 20 minutes now, like he has to play a bit more because of the fact that Ja is not out. I know it's not exactly the same. It's not the same position. And most people say, well, what does Steven Adams have to do with Ja Morant? It all depends on the type of offense that they run, because now they can't run as much of a pick and roll because Tyus Jones doesn't really like doing that, right? It's more so they're running a simplified offense. There's a bit more ISO plays where Dillon Brooks and Desmond Bane are shooting the ball a lot more. You need Steven Adams in the paint a lot more, right? So I do lean Adams over Brandon Clark if you can get there. But if not, if you're playing Brandon Clark, I would not play Precious Achiuwa, because if Brandon Clark is feasting, it's likely coming at the expense of Precious Achiuwa. And Nick Nurse won't hesitate to put Pascal Siakam at the 5 there. So that's why, for those that were wondering in Discord, where I was saying don't play Clark with Achiuwa, It's just more so of a correlation point from the two of them together. But also a ton of love for some of these Toronto Raptors. Is there anybody that you're targeting in particular at the top or the bottom of the pricing range? Anyone that you're looking to get exposure to?
Yeah, so real quick before we move to that side, just to reinforce a couple of points that you made. The Pistons Trailblazer game is the lowest over under by about 5 points, and it's
That's a
about
significant chunk.
right. I mean, that's a huge deal on a 5-game slate to be that far apart from the other games. And it's a 7-point spread. The Knicks and the Nets are 7.5, so it's almost the biggest spread on the board too. And the highest projected rostered Grizzly is 25th right now. 25th. Like, people were flocking to this game before the
And
Portland
not
news.
even 25%, 25th.
Right, 25th in
the list of
rostership.
players.
Right. People wanted big parts of this game before the news broke for Portland. And again, new news. Everybody flocks to it. And I'm not saying Portland are bad plays, but man, don't forget this game. Like, if you put 2 or 3 Grizzlies in your lineup, that might be a really smart play at night. But
Like,
for the Raptors side, good.
Yeah, like even last night, like just like anybody else, I make a placeholder, right? Like it's hey, I just published the article, like I'm gonna make something based on what I wrote, and then I run the model a little early, and then I post it for you guys the morning of the slate there. But like I'll end up filling it out with that, like I always do. It's the same strategy for me. Everyone knows it. It's the guys that I write up, and then I fill out the rest with the model, right? In terms of value plays, and for me, I had 3 Memphis Grizzlies in my lineup.
Right.
Like it was a no-brainer. This game is going to shoot out, right? So, or at least it wouldn't surprise me in the least to have this game be second, right behind Golden State and Phoenix in total amount of possessions tonight. And when we're talking about raw opportunity, that's exactly what we need.
Yeah, and then on Toronto's side, they're running pretty shorthanded. OG's out. Trent got ruled out. Kem Birch is out. Dragic is away from the team, I believe, with personal issues. Not that he's playing huge minutes, but that's still another body that's not there. Chris Boucher still in the doghouse. Like, this group of Van Vliet, Siakam, Barnes, Achua, Mikhailuk, like, these guys are going to see so many minutes against a team that is dead last in defensive rating, like you mentioned. Like, Mikhailuk is now pretty much a part of any build I can make at 3,800 because you saw last game, with these missing pieces, this man played 38 minutes at $3,800, and he only shot 2 of 7 from deep. He's probably a little bit better of a shooter than that from 2 of 7. He could flirt with 40 DK, and I know it sounds kind of crazy. It's really not in 38 minutes for this guy.
Oh, it's really not, and his fantasy point per minute shows that, right? And it's just when he's out there, he's producing, and he's somebody that can get hot. Similar to what we were saying with Patty Mills, right? So Patty Mills definitely has more clout to his name when it ends up coming to how long he's been in the league and what he's done on the Spurs, of course, before he got to the Nets and everything like that. But Svi is that same kind of guy where when he gets this amount of run, he's gonna get hot eventually because of the fact that he's going to take a ton of shots, right? So seeing what he did last game, they're going to run essentially a 6 to 7 man rotation tonight. It's going to be very tight. And on top of that, that's exactly what I want because that means Memphis is going to counteract with the exact same thing. Because if you end up taking Dylan Brooks off the court, first of all, you're taking off the one and only good defender that you have on your team. And then if Toronto goes on a 10-0 run or something, like now all of a sudden it's tough because you don't have Ja coming off the bench now that can lead a 10-0 run in your favor, right? Like that's where they're going to have to run a pretty tight ship also there on the Memphis side of things, which is exactly what I want. I want 2 7 to 8 man rotations max. Toronto likely to be 6 to 7 guys. And there are so many minutes to be had here in what I call the clearly the second best game environment on the slate. So I really like this Mikhailuk call. I also like Scotty Barnes on the wing, and Pascal Siakam certainly is still in play also. If you're not playing Precious, you can't play him with Precious Achiuwa because you want to see some Pascal Siakam at the 5 a little bit there. And getting Siakam against either Steven Adams or Brandon Clark, that is quite the mismatch for him in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, pretty much this whole game is just like that's kind of the main portion that I want to build around. It's basically going to be KD, Steph, a lot of this game, and then probably like 2 Blazers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like for me, I'm not forcing Blazers into my lineup, right? Because you got to think like they really don't like I'm sorry, they're playing the Pistons. Like I get it. The Pistons are the kings of covering. Like they cover nearly every single game when they're a double-digit underdog. I get that, but it's just they're still the worst game environment by far. And at that point, it's like even then, it's no, we've seen McCollum in these spots this season. He's not playing as aggressive as he used to. So
and that's the thing. Like, I'm fine rostering Simons, right? Because he's just not priced like Lillard was going to be out. He just isn't. He's only 4K. Yes, he's the most popular player on the slate by a significant amount. Whatever. Sometimes you just got to eat those guys and just move on and get different elsewhere. Totally fine with that. But now we're looking at, Nurk is like over half the field. CJ McCollum's right at 50%. I'm not saying
it just doesn't make sense.
Worst plays in the world, but I'm not rostering A, all three of those guys together, and B, CJ McCollum's kind of priced appropriately for Dame being out. I don't think you're getting some huge value at 7,900 that you just simply can't pass up. I'm more than fine playing Simons, playing one of the value guys like maybe a Dennis Smith Jr., and just kind of moving on because I just think there's so many better spots. I'm not forcing McCollum into my lineup tonight.
Yeah, and like even at 7,900, like this is just one example there because when I was looking to see what exactly I was going to do with McCollum, I already knew in my head I wasn't going to play him, but I want to, I always like to take the bias out of it and say like, okay, does it really deserve justification for him to be likely the highest roster player tonight? And sitting there at $8,000 is Chris Paul. Like, do we realistically think that and then again, this is just one example. Don't take it for a yes or no situation where it's like, if you have McCollum now, go and change all your McCollum lineups to Chris Paul. It's not what I'm saying. It's just like, can you see a situation where Chris Paul outscores CJ McCollum?
Yeah, pretty easily.
Like that's where it's, and again, and you're getting exposure to the best. Like you have the two best teams in the league. Both are top 5 in pace. Both are top 10 in possessions per game. Like that game is going to be so good. Why would you not just play Chris Paul over McCollum? Like if you're in love with the rest of your build, why would you not just play someone like Chris Paul over McCollum? Like that for me is my thought process.
And even, it's a little bit more expensive, but Devin Booker's only 86. With all the value plays we have, it's not that difficult to get there. Van Vliet's 8,700. Really again, it's not that difficult to get there. And honestly, in a vacuum, even salaries included, I think I'd rather play Van Vliet tonight.
Yep. I think so too.
So I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying, hey, don't play CJ McCollum. And you said it too. Don't hear what we're not saying. But man, it is, especially in GPP, when we talk about getting different on slates like this, where it's a 5-game slate and there's such heavy chalk everywhere, getting off McCollum is just one of the easiest things you can do. And even Nurk, I'm interested, but 55%? Buddy, that's a lot.
I can't do it.
That's a lot. And
no, I can't.
So I pulled up his stats without Lillard on the floor. And, it needs some context because it's only about 56 minutes. So that does play a part, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But, his usage and his fantasy points per minute really take a hit without Lillard. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, why does it take such a big hit? His usage falls by, I think, I'm pulling up right now. Court IQ is kind of being a little slow. His usage falls by, I think it's 4 or 5%. And then
it's huge.
His fantasy points per minute is almost 0.3 fantasy points per minute. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy like Nurk that kind of needs everything he can get so far this year.
Well, yeah, because it's not like he's going to go out there and play 38 all of a sudden. He's not going to go out there and play 38 minutes. The guy usually takes 3 to 5 business days to play 38 minutes.
His usage is down 6.7%, and it's almost 0.4 fantasy points per minute. And it's because Lillard feeds him passes.
They just play so much more ISO. They just play now you have McCollum who is a good primary ball handler. I was saying that CJ McCollum running the Philadelphia 76ers offense would be ideal. He can dish the rock and he could score as that primary ball handler. But at the same time, you're now surrounding him with all of these shooters.
Right.
Why would he be running a pick and roll with Nurkic? Why would he be running alongside Anthony Simons then? Why would he even be on the court if you're not going to feed him the ball on a kick out?
Right.
Right. So it's That's the one thing. I'm not saying they're bad plays. It's just for me to warrant being 50% rostered in a tournament, you better be in the smash spot of all spots. And I really don't see it, especially where it's like, okay, if you're playing, I'll even say hypothetical where you're not following pure chalk, you're playing at least one of these guys. You're likely playing McCollum over Nurkic.
Right.
At that point, do you even play Anthony Simons with him? Like that's where it goes to the theory that we keep talking about on Discord. What do you need for McCollum to pay off an $8,000 price tag? You can't have Anthony Simons taking 15 shots. How McCollum's going to go 18 for 19 from the field? Like
against Detroit, you might, but I'm not sure it's the game you want to play.
And then it's just as scary because you're like, well, if I'm playing McCollum, I'm not going to play Anthony Simons. That is just as scary tonight. It's just like they are in two completely different price tiers. I get it. They are literally half the price of one another. But it is just as scary to fade an Anthony Simons value play than it is to 50% on McCollum, if not even scarier when it comes to Anthony Simons.
Yeah, because Simons just has such an easier path to hit value and not tank your lineup.
And you look at the recent games that he's had too. On top of that, he's shooting the ball well, and he's somebody that when he plays with his confidence, Brian backed me up this when I was a Trailblazer fan. When he plays with this confidence, he's gonna have the ball in his hands a lot more than people think tonight. So that for me, I'm looking to Portland. I'm not playing any of these guys at the top of the pricing grid. I'm looking at Anthony Simons. I'm looking at Larry Nance Jr. as well on the wing because that's my counter to the Nurkic chalk. I'm playing Larry Nance Jr. And I am likely getting some exposure to Dennis Smith Jr. He's a model gem right now at 3K. So stone cold minimum there at 3K, and he allows me to get both Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. I'm okay playing any combination of those guys together. I know the question's coming in chat there. I'm just gonna get ahead of the 8 ball here. I'm okay to play Dennis Smith Jr. with Anthony Simons together because Dennis Smith Jr. is coming in for McCollum. He's not coming in for Anthony Simons because Dennis Smith Jr. needs the ball in his hands, and you can't play McCollum off ball when Damian Lillard is out of the lineup. That's just an insult to who CJ McCollum is, right? So I don't mind playing the two of them together.
So, again, I have Portland pulled up, and Smith has about 102-minute sample size. His true shooting is, about what you would expect from Dennis Smith because it's 47.6.
Yeah.
He's still generating 0.92 fantasy points per minute. Like, McCollum's only at 1.10. And the usage rates between Simons and McCollum is like 6 points apart. Like, McCollum's at 31.3, Simons is at 25.4. Again, why am I jamming 8K CJ McCollum? If he scores 45 DK points at 55% ownership,
it doesn't work.
That doesn't help you at all.
It doesn't work. The one and only scenario where I can see McCollum lineups passing the lineups that we're building here now is that if both, not even one, if both Kevin Durant and Steph Curry have abomination of games.
Yeah.
That's the one and only path. And if that's what happens, I'm going to sleep like a baby.
Hey, I'm fine with that.
I'm going to sleep like a baby. If you're going to tell me that the two only players that could win MVP this season so far, no disrespect to Jokic, but he's already missed a ton of games.
He's missed 4. Let's calm down.
He's missed a ton of games. That's a quarter. That's a quarter of his schedule. That's a quarter of his schedule.
Embiid.
Just saying.
He's not Embiid.
But I'm just going to say that the two front runners for MVP, obviously, the two front runners for MVP right now on the same slate at a combined 25% rostered is a federal crime.
Yeah, it for me, like, okay, so we have all this value popping up, right? Simons is 4K and he's the stone cold chalk. Cool, I want to play Anthony Simons too. Why in the hell does nobody want to play Steph Curry and Kevin Durant tonight? That does not make any sense. And Durant has a bit more projected ownership just because of where he's. All right, Brian, settle down. Just because of his positions, because everyone's jamming in the guards, everyone's jamming in Simons, and they're playing McCollum. So the easiest path is just to play Harden or just to play Durant. Excuse me. He's still barely 20%. If you're going to tell me on a 5-game slate I can get these two in my lineup for, like you said, 20%, and Steph's like I think 13 right now. 13%? Are you kidding me?
I don't get it.
In a game that has the second highest over/under, both teams are top 5 in pace. Both teams are top 9 in possessions. And, oh, by the way, now Andrew Wiggins is questionable. The Warriors are already down.
Damian Lee's also out.
Damian Lee. Iguodala has been out. Like, they're already running a little bit short as it is. And Wiggins pops up questionable late in the day. You have to think he's probably either not playing with back spasms.
Yeah, that was a 4 p.m. injury report submission, too.
Right. Like, that's not a good sign for Andrew Wiggins to pop up that late with back spasms, man. Nobody wants to play
bad.
Steph Curry. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's bad. Is there anybody else that you want from this game? Like this one's probably going to be relatively quick for me, just because I'm only playing Steph, and then if you I'm going to mention Devin Booker and Chris Paul. There's no one else that would really play in this game, but
I don't think so either. Like Draymond's, I'm not playing 70.
Yeah, I can't. If it was, I know it doesn't seem like much. You guys are gonna say, "Oh, it's only $700," but like if it was 6,500, Draymond, like what we had in the past,
yeah,
I would be all in. I would really want exposure to this game, and I would stack Curry and Draymond together. But at 72, I just can't do it with Dylan Brooks there at 7K. That's the main reason.
Exactly. I think really it's Curry, it's Booker, and it's Paul for me as well.
Yeah.
And like we said, Booker and Paul are just, they're so easy to pivot off CJ. Like I'm already excited, like, because that's what I'm doing tonight. And if that's what bites me, then you know what, man, that's what bites me tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a question about Aiden. I'm not playing him against the league's best defense. That's for sure.
That's
I really
do
think
that
this is going to be a Devin Booker show. There's going to be a Devin Booker show.
I think it's either
Booker's going to have to win this game in ISO.
I think it's Booker and or Chris Paul. Like, kind of have to carry that team. Like, Chris Paul is probably going to have to dish like 15 assists. Booker's
he's got to hit that mid-range. That mid-range jumper better be hitting tonight. If not, they're going to lose by 15.
Yeah, I agree.
If not, it's going to get ugly. So, we're both out on Aiden. I will mention Jake. Kings,
I mean, if you want to play Fox, like, be my guest.
Yeah.
We're not going to hate on Fox, Freedom Fox, as he's now referred to in the chat.
Thank gosh. Oh my God.
I will say he's not a priority tonight for me.
Yeah, he's not, just because like I even wrote him up too, and that was before all this injury news. You guys know, of course, both of us published the night before there. So before all the injury news, I really like De'Aaron Fox at 8,400. The Lakers bleed versus primary ball handlers. Everyone knows that. With Russell Westbrook taking that defensive assignment, if I could even call it a defensive assignment, the way that he plays on his own half of the court there. But Buddy Hield is just a little bit expensive for me on DK, more so of a Fanduel play, even though he doesn't get that 3-point bonus on Fanduel. Just he doesn't turn over the ball a lot, so it kind of makes up for those extra points that you usually lose on Fanduel for more turnovers. Doesn't really matter when it comes to a guy like Buddy Hield, because he's a spot-up shooter. Really won't kill you in terms of turnovers there. I like him better over there on DK at 6,600. I'm going back to Dylan Brooks. Rashawn Holmes at 6,200 is someone that I would entertain, again, more so on Fanduel. On DK, I can't really get there with my build right now.
Yeah.
But on Fanduel, he's way too cheap on Fanduel. So I do like Rashawn Holmes as a GPP play, as a tournament play. And one guy I will mention in this game, I'm really not getting a ton of exposure to it. I love Malik Monk tonight. I love Malik Monk.
Things that I did not think you were going to say today. So go for it.
We were in this scenario. When were we in this scenario? Was it a couple weeks ago? Was it already a month ago? I'm so bad with time ever since the pandemic. But I feel like it was maybe a month ago where LeBron was out, and it was one of Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook that were out, and people were playing 60% on Malik Monk.
Oh, I do remember that. It was like the first couple games LeBron was out.
Yeah, he was legitimately 60% rostered in tournaments, and now no one's playing him.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of those guys. Like, he's kind of like Patty Mills, right? If that shot doesn't go in,
if that shot doesn't drop,
you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You're gonna get like 5 DK points.
Absolutely smoked. If that shot is not dropping, you are cooked.
You have to understand what you're getting yourself into.
So the main reason why I like him is because he's likely, I don't want to say guaranteed, because I really don't like making calls like that when it comes to this, but there we go. There we go.
Oh, really?
There we go. So now I will say it, because before I was already going to say it, that there's no way Malik Monk doesn't play 30 minutes tonight. And I will be having so much Malik Monk in tournaments, barring that the roster ship stays the same.
I hate this slate already.
So we'll touch on that before we get to the lineup questions, because I've already been on for 35 minutes.
Go ahead and reconfigure some of this.
I know my answer. I'll shoot this one over to you first. I don't want to say are you playing them, because I know the answer is going to be no, but are you Do you have any interest in LeBron James, in Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook now that Brown is out? Let me rephrase that question. Are you coming off one of Steph Curry or Kevin Durant for Russell Westbrook or Anthony
I
Davis?
don't think so. Now, it's a great spot. Kings, can't defend anything. They play at a decent pace. We know that this isn't the Lakers of the past couple of years. They're playing at a quicker pace. Their defense is still bad, and it's only going to get worse with LeBron off the court. He might not be playoff LeBron yet, but just him being on the court makes their defense better.
He played so well last game too. I watched that game a little bit. He played so well last game.
Well, yeah, when you've only played like 3 games this year, your
like
energy
he looked really good. He looked really good out there. Please don't play Evan Fournier. Please ever.
Yeah,
please don't ever play Evan Fournier ever.
There's so many.
I have like a
plays.
personal thing against Evan Fournier.
The only way Fournier is even doing anything is if he goes like almost perfect from the field, and we have enough guys like that I kind of already like. But yeah, I mean, for Westbrook, you probably could. I mean, that's kind of game environment that would kind of lend itself to him hitting some shots.
Westbrook and AD I'll combine these guys together. Do you have any interest in Melo or THD at 48, 4,900? Kind of that Patty Mills range.
They might take over Patty Mills now, because now I do want something from the Lakers. I'm not 100% sure. I would definitely go Monk over Crowder at this point. Yes. I mean, I think
I already shipped the chips on Malik Monk. I'm not changing it. So
I was gonna say you were on that to start with. So now,
I'm not playing. Even the lineup I sent you to, you could vouch for that. The lineup I sent you to had Malik Monk in it. So
okay. So one thing we need to be careful about here: James is being held out for health and safety protocols.
That could be a disaster.
That could, that he might not be the only one on the Lakers. A good thing that doesn't start for a while.
Anthony Davis was sick for like the past week too. Right?
Yeah, so
he apparently tested negative, but just saying.
You guys need to make sure that if you're playing Lakers, because we have a really significant split. We have 2 7:30s and 3 10 o'clocks. Just make sure you're backloading your lineups like you always should be, because that could be utter disaster after the slate locks. So just make sure you leave yourself options if you go to Lakers. But for me, man, I'm still prioritizing KD and Steph.
I'm going to be honest. I don't want to say this changes nothing for me, because most people probably didn't have Malik Monk in their lineup outside of me, because I'm just a lunatic.
Yeah,
but
Monk's probably going to be more popular. You're not going to get him at the 0.5% you would have.
Yeah, but this changes nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm not super running towards it. And I know it sounds weird. And, listen, if you're an MME, get some shares of all these guys. Like you want exposure to Westbrook, you want exposure to AD, but if I'm setting my exposure just right now, they'd probably be half of what I set for Curry and KD. Remember, nothing changed for those spots. Nothing has changed for Curry or Durant.
That's the thing. And I'd rather, because if they were both 15% roster now and Russell Westbrook outtakes a little bit of that, especially with him being cheaper than Curry.
Oh, I hope everyone flocks to Lakers. That may turn out to be in the ass too, but that would be awesome.
First or last tonight.
That's what it is.
That's the way to do it. Steph, Melton, Brooks, KD, Precious, Fee, Crowder, and Smith Jr. If that's the lineup that you got Monk, if you got you need to get Anthony Simons in there.
Yeah, you do. So move
go Simons. Yeah,
Svi goes to the forward spot, and then
go Simons over Crowder.
Yeah, and you should be good.
Yeah. Or mix in some Malik Monk also. He's gonna go nuts tonight. Simons, Mills, Brooks, Durant, Achua, Smith, Clark, Curry. Patty's a no-go for me now. Achua. Yeah, I wouldn't play them both together. Patty's a no-go for me now, just because of the fact that there's so many other guys. But then again, I only make one lineup for all the nuts there. So
even as much as I did like Patty Mills, my single entry
it's tough,
he's not going to make it now. He's not.
It's tough. I don't know why Jay is calling me while we're live, literally on his show. But Jay, if you're watching,
we see you.
Clearly, you are not. Jay is calling me right now to talk about the slate. So,
probably a good spot to stop.
I would just go Monk over Mills.
And we got to work on the Clark Achua spot. Make sure you get us in Discord.
Clark, even if you keep Mills in there, Clark is an easy pivot to Svi, because Svi is forward eligible.
Yeah,
and he's only $100 more. So it's Svi there for me. I'm seeing no lines with Larry Nance Jr., man. I might be the only guy on Larry Nance Jr. tonight, but
No, I'll
pre-live line is Simons, Booker, KD, Clark, Adams, Shep. Bro, I just told you in chat, please don't play Mo Harkless. You're killing me, man. That's not the live line. You know that. You know that's not the live line. You're killing me, Brian. You're killing me. Steph, Svi, Brooks, Barnes, JJJ. First time I saw a JJJ lineup today all day. Simons, Nance, Nurk. That's a lot of mid-range.
That's a lot of
Portland. You're dodging a lot of the and you're dodging a lot.
I don't know if I want 3 Portland now, because now we have guys from the Lakers. You know, some of the lower end guys that I maybe want to fit too. So I think tonight I'm just going to wind up limiting myself to 2 Portland. I was going to be maybe okay with 3, but with Braun out, I think that changes things.
Yep. Curry, Burks. There we go. First Alec Burks line, I think. See, thank you. Absolutely. I'm locking in Alec Burks tonight. Curry, Burks, Brooks, Durant, Precious, Achiuwa, Smith. Yeah, that's Brian's nickname for Precious. Precious, Dennis Smith Jr., Svi, and Nance.
I think
again, you don't have Simons in there. That's the only thing, but I'm cool with it.
Oh.
Like you have Smith Jr. and Nance. I guess that would be your 2 Portland guys. You just gotta hope that the starters flop, I guess, or like
McCollum. I don't know, man. If we haven't made it clear, I do not want to fade Simons tonight.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
I'm not doing it.
I would come off, move Nance to center.
Yeah,
I gotta think this one through before I give a piece of advice. Anyways, whatever. Hopefully we're on the same contest. Move Nance to center and then come off Achiuwa and then go from Smith Jr. to Simons, and I'll see you at the top.
Yeah.
Here comes Otto. Gotta check them all for that one, guys. I have no idea what's happening to it because we're on camera, so I'm not looking at it right now. Live line again.
His one before was pre-live. It was before we started.
So DSJ, Melton, Brooks, KD, TBS. Oh my God. Precious, Achiuwa, Chef, Svi, Simons. Now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're in business.
Now we're talking. Monk over Mills, yes. For me, yes.
Yeah.
The Fournier comment, please don't play Evan Fournier ever. Do you guys have a program we could play? So we don't give out lineups. We teach you how to play DFS on every site. So windailysports.com, the site is at the top. If I can, see, this is not backwards. I just got to get my finger in the camera. At the top on that side. You'll be able to join there. So make sure you go and check us out. And you will also be able to join our Discord. So we do have a Discord chat where we chat about lineups all day. So make sure you guys come and join. You got Monk over D Rose. D Rose is in tonight. So
yeah, all the Knicks that were questionable are all available.
Mitch I'm going to let the model.
Too? Yeah.
That's big for my fantasy team.
Okay. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check that. Yeah, he's in.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Barrett's in, Noel and Robinson. Okay.
Yep.
But you like a little D Rose off the bench, a little D Rose action.
I can be
for Monk, but I think the upside's huge for him at 4,300. That's huge.
Yeah,
you know how much he loves him, and he's gonna run him into the ground until his knees fall off.
Yeah, I think I prefer Rose over Monk myself.
I like that call. I like that one. THT, yeah, both him and Melo are in play. Just again at 4,900. I don't know if I could get there. I'll see when we get off. See when I end up tinkering there. I'll see what's going on with that lineup. But TBD from me. Simons, Monk, Brooks, Durant, Achiuwa, Svi, Nance, Curry to the moon. SVK. Is that Svi Mykhailiuk?
Is that Svi?
Is that Svi?
I hope is it
Svi?
Okay.
Yeah, we both love Svi tonight. We absolutely both love Svi tonight. So
I'm just gonna do the Orange Cassidy thumbs up.
Last one: Curry, Simons, Brooks, KD.
Get Killian
Nance,
Hayes the hell out of your lineup.
Otto, please don't play Killian. Just swap Otto and Killian Hayes. Swap Otto for Svi, and then literally put any utility that will see the court, and you will cash.
Anybody but Killian Hayes.
Yeah, Svi over Monk per the model. Svi over Monk it is. We ride or die by it. For all of you that played Bones Highland yesterday at 0.2% rostered, you definitely know.
That's right.
That's it for us today, guys. Thank you for joining the windailysports.com NBA live show, sponsored by the Sharp app, sharp.link. Make sure you guys go and check us out over there too for all of your sports betting content needs as well. We will see you in the Discord. Adam, thank you for joining me today, bro. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, man, as always.
And I will see you in there. Take care, guys.